Hello there, liberty lovers and logic aficionados. Welcome back to Are You Smarter Than a Libertarian? I'm your host, Jeff Metrick, and today we're diving into a topic that all politicians love, special pleading. Now, you might be wondering, special pleading, is that like when my little brother begs for an extra cookie while telling me I can't have one? Actually, yeah, that's pretty close. Now, stick around because in this video, we'll break down what special pleading is, why it's sneaky, and how to avoid it in debates, or at least call it out with some style and flair. Now, let's define what special pleading is. Special pleading is a logical fallacy that occurs when someone applies rules or standards to others, but then insists that they should be exempt, without ever giving a solid reason. Essentially, they're saying, rules for thee, but not for me. We see this all the time in political commentary on Fox and CNN. We also see politicians saying this. Let me give you an example. We've probably all had this one. Remember that one friend who says, you're not allowed to bring snacks into the movie theater, but promptly pulls out a jumbo popcorn from their bag. That's special pleading in action, minus the smell of delicious, buttery hypocrisy. At its core, special pleading basically says, I get an exception, just because. But in a logical debate, just because is about as satisfying as a half-frozen pizza bagel. And on this channel, we don't like half-frozen pizza bagels, and we don't like just becauses. Now, you might be going, Jeff, why does this matter to me? And you should care about special pleading because it's an argument stopper. It removes the possibility of real discussion or debate and coming up with a consensus. If you bring up valid objections and your opponent says, sure, but my case is special, and they offer no reason why it's unique, that's like trying to hold water with a sieve. No matter what you say, they'll claim they're off limits. It's basically like when we were growing up, no tagbacks of the logical fallacies. We all had that one friend who claimed they're immune to it, or immune to being it in a game. That is special pleading as we saw as kids. Now, let me give you a real-life example. Arguments about speed limits. You have Bob and John. Bob says, you were driving 15 over the speed limit. That's dangerous. John responds with, no. I have a very important phone call to make, so it's okay when I do it. I have a good reason. Might sometimes be valid. But if the justification is flimsy or self-serving, congratulations, you got yourself a special pleading meltdown here. Now what libertarians love to talk about, taxes. Bob says, you said nobody should have to pay higher taxes. And Jimmy responds with, right, except me. I'm an entrepreneur, so I actually need tax breaks. Everyone else should pay. Because apparently being an entrepreneur is a magical force shielding you from the same rules you just said for everyone else. Congratulations, you're a hypocrite. That's basically what it is. Now let's have the dessert dilemma. Billy says, Mom said dessert only after dinner. And Alice said, well, that only applies to you. I finished my vegetables last week, so I'm set for life. Yes, that is definitely how dinner table logic works with kids. And yet again, we're dealing with special pleading. In all of these scenarios, the special pleader is skipping any actual proof or justification and instead just claims exceptional status. Now let's look at this from a libertarian angle and see how a libertarian might respond to this and how we try to avoid having this. Here on Are You Smarter Than a Libertarian, we love individual freedom and personal responsibility, but we also love logical consistency. If you're going to argue for a principle, you can't just say, well, it applies to everyone except me. That is the epitome of special pleasing, and that is being hypocritical. Sure, we all want that sweet, sweet exemption from the things we don't like mandatory TPS reports. If you remember the movie Office Space, this channel's for you and you'll get that. Or those super long disclaimers on software updates. We've all seen them, and let's be honest, we've never read them. But once you decide the rules or guidelines exist for a reason, you don't get to magically wave your special little wand and poof out of them with solid logic. This is not Harry Potter. This is not fantasy. Now, common places you'll encounter special pleading. And the first one, you guessed it, politics. Politicians who champion a moral standard, whatever moral standard that is, the wealthy don't pay their fair share, abortion is immoral for everyone else, but gets a pass when they're caught bending the rules. Because how often do you see politicians claiming we need to tax billionaires and millionaires, but they're millionaires themselves and they don't want to pay more taxes? Relationships, we've all had relationships. Ever heard the I can flirt, but it's wrong when you do it? Ding, ding, ding. That is special pleading, and that relationship may need to end. Debates on public policy are always good. The good old, we need to enforce law X, whatever law you want it to be, for the public good. Let's say immigration. But my cousin, who came across the border illegally, is exempt because he's special. He was fleeing persecution. Doesn't matter. No special pleading. Now, how do you identify and respond to these? We've given some examples here. And you need to call this out like a logical detective. Check the rules. Determine if a clear standard was set in the debate. For instance, was the person demanding a particular principle for everyone? Look for the exceptions. Did they suddenly claim they're outside the standards with no real justification? Then they have special pleading. Ask why. What makes your case different? If the answer is basically because it just is, you've got your culprit. When you do call it out, keep calm because you're not trying to call the person out. You're just pointing out a flaw in their argument. You can say something like, you said nobody should break the speed limit, but now you're saying you can. Could you explain why you're an exception and make them defend their position? Because they may be able to validly defend it, and then it's not a special pleading. These processes, like shining a flashlight in a dark basement, the roaches of faulty logic will scatter once exposed to the light. Now, we talked about logical consistency earlier. Avoid this trap for yourself. Sometimes we ourselves can be guilty of special pleading without even realizing it. Maybe we're so attached to an argument that we're convinced we must be the exception and not the rule. So here are a few tips to keep yourself honest. Challenge yourself. Ask, does this rule apply to me as well? Why or why not? I know that's like a 5th grade essay question. Look for conflicting values. You want consistency across the board with your values. Are you prioritizing your convenience over your own principles? Be consistent. Consistency is your best friend in a debate and in life in general. If something truly deserves an exception, you should have real evidence or reasons to back it up. No freebies. So in conclusion, special pleading is kind of like a get out of jail free card in Monopoly, except it's not even an official card. It's like scrawling, I'm immune on a napkin. Anyone can see through it once they learn what it is. Special pleading can be comical if you know how to spot it. For instance, next time you hear someone say, I'm not a hypocrite, I just have special circumstances. Respond with a wink and say, and I'm not snacking on your fries, I'm just borrowing them for my stomach. And that's all we have time for today on Are You Smarter Than a Libertarian? If you think logic should apply to everyone equally, or you've encountered sneaky special pleaders, please share the stories in the comments below. It helps grow the channel. Also, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the notification bells if you want more logical breakdowns and the occasional cringe joke. I'm good for those. From yours truly. Thank you for tuning in to Are You Smarter Than a Libertarian? New videos drop every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Until Friday, stay free, stay informed, stay accountable. I will see you all on Friday.